Blackhawk. We just heard the chief talking about how it's essentially the Swiss Army knife for CBP air and marine operations.
We can chase down whatever comes across.
We scare the smuggler because they have no idea that we're there.
Hi there, Allie Bradley.
Ma'am, how you
Good to
doing?
meet you. An interdiction scenario that played out that went pretty viral, what you guys call an engine shootout. Tell me what happened in that incident.
The search and rescue is all of our responsibility. If we chase a jet ski, the first thing the smuggler is going to do is push the migrant off the back. If they're not rescued, they are going to die. We're locked arms. You're not getting by us. It's entirely possible we break the record this year.
I did not know we were going to see this today. Hey, I'm Allie Bradley with NewsNation. We are out here with CBP's Air and Marine Operations out in San Diego to look at how they're dealing with smuggling incidents and how they're interdicting these boats that are coming towards shore so they can stop them before they even make landfall.
So currently we have 2 Blackhawks in San Diego.
How cool.
We have rescue specialists that can hoist down, put the migrant in a special device or even a basket if necessary. We can hoist them up, get them to a hospital. We can land that helicopter on some hospital helipads. Here it comes again.
That's impressive. So now, do they all have to have the same training on those? Like, do all of them have to have that kind of like EMT certification side of things, or is one person on that? They have that capability. You've got the pilot. You've got, like, how does that work on a Blackhawk? Because I know normally you can fit a bunch of people on there, right? But how many do they normally fly with? 4?
Normally 3 to 4. In most cases, we have emergency medical technicians qualified as crew members. In some cases, we have hoist, hearse, air crew riflemen, all that.
So this is a Blackhawk. We just heard the chief talking about how it's essentially the Swiss Army knife for CBP air and marine operations. They can do reconnaissance missions, they can do rescue missions, they can help with these interdictions. Right now they're doing these high-speed, low passes, showing us really what their capabilities are, and it's really impressive. They operate with about 3 or 4 individuals on board. A lot of times they can help with a migrant who needs rescuing. They can help with these drug interdictions, different things out here on the open water. So you just saw kind of just a little taste of what those Blackhawks can do. An interdiction scenario that played out, that went pretty viral, is actually some of our crew that's on the boat right now was involved in that, and it had his first, what you guys call an engine shootout. Tell me what happened in that incident and how it kind of came to play.
Yeah, on that particular day recently, Enrique was underway with his supervisor, a pretty experienced crew, and it happened that they were doing a southbound pursuit. We believe, investigation is still pending, but we believe that the smuggler already dropped off migrants, and we just kind of missed them. They were heading southbound toward the maritime boundary line, and Enrique and his crew established the pursuit for quite a while, relatively fast speeds, and then the decision was made to pursue SBIP, small interdiction program, small boat interdiction program, and they initiated SBIP. They did warning shots, and what was unique on this particular one was the vessel was an inboard-outboard. So normally we see outboard engines that are a little bit easier to identify where to shoot. You shoot where the cowling, where you think the cylinders are to disable the vessel. In this case, he shot to disable the outdrive, which is a smaller target at and below the waterline. And he nailed it, disabled the vessel, arrested the smuggler, pending charges.
And then already this fiscal year, you guys are at 14 for this unit alone?
For this unit alone, and they get a lot of SBIP, a lot of shoots in Puerto Rico, Miami as well, all over the country really, but Puerto Rico, Miami, and San Diego are the top 3, and I think we're number 1 by a factor of 2.
Oh wow, we're numbers people, right? So if you got 14 this fiscal year already, we're in May. What is a normal year for you guys? Like, what is 14 big and small?
It's pretty big. It's been pretty active since January, so we've been getting quite a few shoots, small boat interdiction program shoots. But, when it was very active in previous years, I don't think it was unusual to get 15 to 20 in a year.
So you're already at what you would almost have for an entire year, and you still got a few months, several months
remaining for the fiscal year, yeah. So,
right.
It's entirely possible we break the record this year.
Statistically, what are we seeing for the vessels that will stop?
So it's daytime, nighttime, it's different. They're a little more brazen at night, but at nighttime, usually 50% or more will stop when they see our lights and sirens. In some cases, even the smugglers get a little startled. When we're that close at night, pitch black, we hit those lights and sirens, even they get kind of scared.
So wait, you have like a stealth mode?
No, but at night they can't see us.
Oh, wow.
We generally come in right behind them. In some cases, our agents are on night vision goggles. In many cases, we're being vectored by
and you're using the FLIR too, right?
In some cases, while you're going fast and getting into interdict, the FLIR is a little bit tough. But when we're being vectored by our aircraft, that vessel doesn't know the aircraft is there. The aircraft knows exactly where they are. So they're vectoring us into that target. So in many cases, we pull up alongside or right behind them and kick on our lights, and they haven't seen another thing for hours. And in many cases, they're doing 20, 25, 30 knots, blasting through 3-foot seas. They're beat up, they're tired, they're exhausted. We hit those lights and we scare them. And in a lot of cases, we scare the smuggler too, because they have no idea that we're there. So at night, 50% or so will stop as soon as we get the lights and sirens on. Another percentage will stop as soon as they see our warning rounds, because they know that we're serious and we're not playing games. And if they don't, these guys are so professional, they transition into the small boat interdiction program immediately. And they can shoot out those engines in seconds, not minutes. And then the game is over. Now it's all about containing all of the people on the other vessel, making sure you see their hands for officer safety. And again, that's the point at which it can go a plethora of different places, right? If they're smuggling drugs and they could be carrying guns, now you've got a serious problem that you need to address quickly with force, with overwhelming force. And in other cases, you've got 14 scared, dehydrated, hypothermic migrants, and now you're transitioning into rescue operations immediately.
So daytime, statistically, what are we looking at? 50-50 at night? Daytime, how many stop?
Probably 25% will stop. We're just a little less brazen during the day. In some cases, they'll see us coming.
So 25% will stop or won't stop? Won't.
25% won't stop.
Okay.
Pardon me. 25%
Yeah.
won't stop. Very rarely when you're dealing with arrests and pursuits and firearms level of force, very rarely do you have 100% safety. In this case we do. There's 350 plus engine shoots all over the country since we've been keeping track, and in not one case has any occupant of the vessel ever been injured.
That's very impressive.
We have cameras up and down the coast that between Border Patrol, Coast Guard, Air and Marine and others, that we share all those feeds and we share all that data. But there's state, local, and other are funding some cameras and systems like that. And generally speaking, we're not able to share information. We don't generally share information with state, local, because of State Bill 54 in California that prevents them from working migrant cases with us. I mean, we work very well with our state and local partners on drug cases, particularly fentanyl. We've had several operations in the last year, including Apollo and others, where we use Stone Garden funding to fund our state and local partners that are working with us extensively to combat fentanyl.
They can bring in additional resources to do that.
Yeah, and they're already doing that work. So the more that we can work together, share information. If we've got information on a particular plaza boss or a particular drug trafficking organization that we can share with our partners, they may have similar information, and that can help us tie those knots, get those things together, and get closer to arrest sooner.
So what's a working relationship like with Mexico? Because I mean, this is a little bit my ignorance. I don't work this side of the country very often. They're obvious. I mean, I'm assuming they're coming out of Mexico and kind of circumventing, right, coming up and coming shoreside, right? Like they're not, because they're not walking across the land border, but they are coming from Mexico, right? For the most part, these vessels.
Exclusively from
Okay.
Mexico, yeah.
Okay, so what's Mexico doing to stop it, or what's the relationship like that with that?
So I was in Ensenada a few months ago, and I met with the Vice Admiral in charge of the Baja Mexico CMAR, which is the Mexican Navy. We had a great interaction. We had lunch, we had briefings on their customs procedures and their search and rescue and interdiction capabilities. And we are at the stage where we're really trying to get more information exchange because they're asset limited. They have limited interceptors, limited capacity other than search and rescue. They actually have pretty extensive and capable search and rescue program in Ensenada. What they lack are those offshore interdiction platforms. But they have information. They have, information that they can share with us. So we're trying to work together on getting that information to us so that we can action it, put an aircraft overhead, detect a particular smuggling conveyance, and then with that aircraft, we can get Coast Guard, we can get Air and Marine, we can get somebody out in front of it to interdict it.
Are they helpful and receptive, or is it kind of more of a pulling teeth situation because Mexico's been hit and miss for the last 4 years?
Nah, so they've been a good partner to Air and Marine San Diego for years. And in fact, where we interdict a vessel, here the prevailing current is southbound. So if we have a disabled vessel with 14 aliens on board, they're in a perilous situation. If they're not rescued, they are going to die because they're just going to keep going south and out to sea. So we work with our partners in Mexico. They send out search and rescue teams to rescue those people and take them back to Mexico. So when they're disabled, Mexico is quite responsive because search and rescue is all of our responsibility, right? Now, when it comes to interdiction, we have had cases where they've come out and we've vectored Mexican interdiction assets to interdict a particular smuggling conveyance. But again, they have a little bit more limitations equipment-wise. I've got several coastal interceptor vessels, and if our crews aren't in the best position, I got a bunch of friends on Coast Guard vessels that we can call them on the radio. In San Diego, we operate uniquely. We operate off of one radio frequency. The Coast Guard, Border Patrol, Air and Marine, Office of Field Operations, Homeland Security Investigations, we're all operating on the same frequency. So when my aircraft identifies a smuggling conveyance, everybody knows it immediately. And we start triaging, figuring out which asset is most capable, which asset has the best proximity, and we all get on a conference call every time, and we talk about which one would be best to interdict this particular vessel. In the case of, there was a case just a few nights ago where we had a jet ski come across that we thought was transporting migrants. So we got on the radio and we asked Coast Guard, hey, clear out. I've got Border Patrol already staged, ready to interdict this when it hits shore. So you guys back up, let us get this one at shore. Because sometimes when we get it at shore, we get pickup activity, we get pickup drivers, which gives us more intelligence, more arrest, more 1324 prosecutions potentially. So those are valuable endeavors when we can pull those off. And
so it's kind of like when you're Arizona, Texas, where they get smuggling vehicles. It's almost like you want to wait for them to pick up or wait for them to be in a position where you can bring those charges forward and have that proof or kind of that connection, because otherwise they're just a truck sitting there kind of thing, right?
We definitely do that to the extent that we can safely, and that's the key, because particularly with jet skis, what we've seen is if we chase a jet ski, the first thing the smuggler is going to do is push the migrant off the back. So now we've got a migrant in the water. So listen, you could be a kilo of cocaine, a pound of methanol, a pound of meth, a pound of fentanyl, or a migrant. You're just a commodity to these smugglers. They don't care. So they'll just push the migrant off the back, and now we're doing a rescue. And that's what makes this job so unique for the mariners you've met today, is when they roll behind, let's say our aircraft detects a vessel and it's a cuddy cabin and we don't really know what's going on with it. We just know that it's in a weird place doing a weird thing. It's suspicious. When our mariners pull up on that, it can be drug runners, armed drug runners, and it turns into a firefight. It could be 15 migrants that are dehydrated, that have fuel burns on their rump because they've been sitting in cold water with fuel burns. It could be dehydrated migrants. Worse than that, it could be a vessel that's sinking. And now, which happened I think 2 or 3 months ago, you're pulling out 10 or 15 migrants out of 55-degree water, all hypothermic, dangerous situation. These guys don't know what they're running into until they're alongside. And they have to put on the law enforcement hat when it's drug runners, where you've got M4s trained on them, ready to take care of business. And then in a moment, you're like, okay, it's migrants, let's put that one down and let's make sure the situation is safe. And just moments after that, you might be pulling a dehydrated and hypothermic migrant out of the water. And now you're performing life-saving field medical on this person. That can happen all in one. It's crazy, and that's why these guys are some of the highest trained, the best trained mariners in the world.
You work patrolling the maritime parts of the border here. What have you seen as far as human smuggling on the water? Have we seen it becoming more aggressive? Have we seen it tick up more now that the southern border is secure? What are you seeing here?
So what we're seeing in San Diego sector specifically, and it's important to keep in mind that San Diego sector, although we only have 60 land miles of border with Mexico that we're responsible for, we are responsible for the entire coast of California. So what we've seen here in San Diego sector historically is literally hundreds of these maritime events over the years. Most important to note, in 2023, we recorded more than 700 maritime of these maritime events. This fiscal year, we're right around 300. So we're kind of on the same trend, if you would say. Even though we are fortifying the land border, we are still seeing these maritime human smuggling events, which are very dangerous. Like we saw just over a week ago, 3 people died in one of these events. We have to also remember the event that happened in May of 2023, where 8 people died. So this is just constant reminder that these smuggling events are dangerous. These human smugglers are putting people's lives at risk, and they have no regard for their well-being.
Now, I know that you have kind of a force multipliers down here right now. You have a lot of different agencies that you guys are working hand in glove with right now to secure the border and secure these areas. But the cartel is still making their money, right? They're still kind of fooling these people into coming. What is the danger there for these people that are trusting the smugglers, that are still taking the journey, and they're doing it by sea and not necessarily by land anymore?
So we've seen this trend over the years, where the human smugglers will utilize the maritime front, but it's very dangerous, as we know.
So when it comes to that, I mean, how are they selling it to these migrants, right? I mean, hey, come on in, it's safe, we'll get you there, 100%, no problem. Pay us, we got you, because there's a lot of eyes on the land border right now. I mean, what are you guys learning from the individuals that you intercept, from your interviews, from things like that with the maritime smuggling?
Well,
what are they being told?
Well, what we've gathered over the years through interviews and really working this whole region is that we know that these human smugglers lie to people. They will all guarantee them entry. They're charging them extreme amounts of money to come into the United States illegally this way. So we've learned that they lie to them. They're deceitful. And really, people should understand that this route is not a legitimate route, for one. People should turn themselves over to the port of entry for legal entry into the United States. They shouldn't be utilizing a criminal organization who really have no regard for their well-being.
Now, when it comes to the success and the force multipliers that you guys do have down here, have they been helpful? Has it been helpful to have DOD down here, to have all these different agencies working together? Has anyone been stepping on top of each other? Or have you all kind of figured out a way to navigate all these partnerships?
Well, we always work well with either our state, local, or federal partners, and DOD is a testament to that. Their continued help with fortifying the infrastructure, also filling in with other logistical and surveillance positions that were once held by Border Patrol agents. Now DOD can kind of fill those spots, allowing agents to go to the front lines, and the front line being here along the maritime front.
Now, I mean, you guys are looking at having to hire 20,000 some odd agents. I mean, the bush hires are getting retired, right? Do you guys need the force down here when the numbers have completely plummeted? I mean, we're looking at under 300 on average across the whole SWB, man. So do you need those agents? What do you think from where you stand?
So the short answer is going to be yes. The fact that our numbers there's an extreme downward trend of the apprehensions. So take this time last year where we were apprehending right here in San Diego sector around 1,500 to 2,000 people a day. And that's apprehending, transporting, and processing, and then out processing those folks. Nowadays, it's right around 30 to 40 people. So the numbers are drastically down compared to last year. We're always going to need border security. As we know, border security is national security, and we're going to remain vigilant along our borders.
So maritime smuggling, when it comes to that issue, if you were to meet a migrant tomorrow who is about to board one of these boats with the cartel, what do you tell them?
Don't do it. They're going to be lied to. They're going to be misled. They will put their lives in danger if they engage with this criminal organization. They will pay a high fee. And let's also keep in mind, there's been many times we've interviewed migrants after the fact, after we've arrested them on the maritime front, and they've explained to us, well, they haven't paid yet. They're intending to pay the criminal organization a fee. So what does that kind of lead into? It leads into a whole lot of other issues that will definitely be investigated. But the short message is don't do it. You need to go to a port of entry, and that is the only legal route to enter the United States.
We learned yesterday about $18,000 was kind of the going rate on average for an individual to come by sea. Is that what you've learned to be consistent as well recently?
That's about average of what we've kind of learned over the years, and consistently currently with the maritime events. Yes,
that seems insane.
It is. It's a high.
I thought 15,000 was a lot.
Right, and let's also keep in mind in the past 2 to 3 years. I mean, we were encountering people from all over the world. When we interview people from different parts of the world, not even from the Western Hemisphere, they're paying upwards of 20 or 25,000. So really, that's another example of how these criminal organizations exploit people. Technology, as it evolves over time, cell phones and social media, as it will be. But really, this has been happening for years. So what we need to explain to people is that the entire coast of California is a border. Oftentimes people will say, hey, you're not at the border. Well, I would encourage people to look left, look west, and there's a border there. The entire coast of California is indeed a border.
And you guys being able to not be transporting and processing 1,500 people a day allows you to go back to the job that you originally had signed up to keep people safe and stop the individuals who don't want to be caught.
Last 2 or 3 years, it was a task that we necessarily didn't ask for, but it was a task that we faced, and we answered those calls greatly. I think the Border Patrol, especially here in San Diego, did a tremendous job, and we're continuing to do a tremendous job in providing border security for this nation. For people along the coastline here in San Diego, it goes back to the old saying, if you see something, say something. If you see anything suspicious, an abandoned boat, life jackets, something as simple as footprints across an area where you wouldn't necessarily see footprints, maybe in a parking lot, something like that, to call Border Patrol, and we can definitely come and answer those calls. So our technology is a great tool that we have here in San Diego sector. So a lot of surveillance technology, agents themselves, vehicles, I mean, all that comes into play in trying to combat these maritime smuggling events.
But you have to have the whole tool belt, right? You can't just have the nail and not the hammer, or you can't have a camera but no agent to respond to the camera. So now you're able to do the job that you guys signed up for. That's why Border Patrol's been around for 100 years.
Exactly. We just recently, celebrated our 100 years of existence. And that, to answer your question, yes, we're going to need all elements to come into play. Our border infrastructure, the agents themselves, technology, everything working in collaboration to provide border security.
We've talked about the partnerships, how you guys work in collaboration. What does the collaboration look like with AMO? What does it look like when a vessel is being kind of interdicted? And how do you guys work together to not only keep everyone safe, but also to prevent that situation from being successful on the smuggler's end?
Well, our collaboration with Air Marine Operations, AMO, is tremendous. They're our sister agency within CBP, and we work with them every single day. So the men and women who operate the boats and the aircraft within San Diego sector, they're a tremendous asset for us. So when immediate maritime event happens, we're able to work on the same radio frequencies. They know the common landmarks, and we work very well within San Diego sector.
We just wrapped up our ride along with Customs and Border Protection air and marine operation agents who are showing us exactly how they operate out in pretty much the open water. So talking about interdiction, talking about human smuggling, and also talking about how they do it safely. They have a track record where in 350 different incidents where they've actually had to shoot out engines of these smuggling vehicles, they haven't had anyone injured in those incidents. So we learned a lot of different information from these guys on this boat. But one of the biggest things that we took away is the training and the responsibility that they have to keep everyone involved safe.